GB. Well, they are like this for this one. We don't know who the three are starting, but this is the squad list that we have. Matt Loftus is number 2. Josh Murphy is number 3. David Scott, number 4. Caleb Nanavy has played a big part so far in England's in GB's Goalball campaign. Dan Roper, number 7. And Joe Roper is number 8. Faye Dale is the head coach, supporting her the assistants. Alex Bunny and Josie Hewson. And for Lithuania, well, they were on the wrong end of a comeback yesterday against South Korea here on court 1. They have Nerijus Montvidas as the number 1. Arturas Jonikaitis is the number 2. Justas Pazarauskas is number 3. Genrik Pavliukianets is number 7. Mantas Brazauskis is number 5. And Uojas Aigminas is the number 9. Klaidas Yanaika, Aurimas Skinoulis, and Artyom Alexiev is the other member of the coaching staff. Well, we are 2 minutes away from starting up here. Eager to see who will start for GB. We can see already a couple of names emerging. Matt Loftus, number 2. Caleb Nanavy, one of them, as well as Matt Loftus, as I said, and Caleb Nanavy there. Pavliukianets is a starter for Lithuania, the number 7. He was really strong when he was on the court yesterday. Faye Dale is just passing on some instructions to her team before they get the game started. As you heard from the announcer, 90 seconds. Brazauskis and Pazarauskas are the 3 that are on the pitch for, or on the court for Lithuania. Got in a slightly sort of darker grey strip for this encounter. They were in green yesterday. As we just see the final checks going on for Lithuania. Of course, the official just checking to see if there's no unfair advantage for one player at all. Of course, the whole point is, yes, they might be sort of slightly better for sight in terms of the other player, but of course, with that protection on, it does defeat the object of one being better than the other, so it gives it a complete fair advantage. As we also see Dan Roper, who is on for Great Britain. So there's been one win, one loss at the moment as the Raw comes in for GB. Beat Egypt on the first day of the competition. Yesterday they lost to Germany. Now can they get past Lithuania, who will, they hope, still be hurting and not that angry and determined to win after their shock overturning loss to South Korea. The officials, by the way, Fariba Mohammadi and Patrick Larson. Fariba Mohammadi, of course, on the far side, near where the referee's table is. And Patrick Larson, the other official on the near side, in front of where the spectators are. Crowd has to be quiet. It will be Lithuania who will get us rolling. With Pavliukianet with a lot of power on it. But in the way of the shot is Dan Roper, who's done well to block. And then we'll have a shot of his own. Turns and spins low. Kept out with the feet by Mantas Brazauskis. The Paralympic bronze medalists are Lithuania in goalball. So this is going to be a real difficult test for Great Britain. As now we get to see the first of Justas Pazarauskas. And this shot is safely dealt with by Matt Loftus. Nanavy going for the far corner. Away to the right of Pazarauskas, but one that slips away from him. Pazarauskas turns in, and it's helped in by Loftus. And Lithuania are in front. 47 seconds in. It was a powerful effort by Pazarauskas. It was a effort that no one was able to keep out there, to be fair. And Great Britain trail as he goes for it again. This time it's off Loftus, off his front. It was moving and swirling around, but his back arm has just seen it land into Dan Roper's path. As Great Britain could have fairly found themselves 2 down. None of it getting the block in. It will go off the court, but it will be GB's ball. They did start behind against Egypt and were able to come back. However, they were 3-0 down before they decided to wake up and get into the game. Don't want to make it 2 losses in a row, as they, of course, are taking on Lithuania. Lost to the Germans yesterday. So, just over 10 minutes to go of the first half, and it's a good stop by Dan Roper because Loftus missed it. Roper going for it low, kept out easily by Mantas Brzezowskis. Pavliukianet always puts the ball behind his head. It's gone through. It did go in. Great Britain unsure if that's going to stand or not. Lithuania think it should. The officials, Larson and Mohammadi, are coming to the neutral area to decide if it's going to be a goal or not. And it will be 2-0 to Lithuania. So there is the confirmation. No technology to overturn it. It's just on what the officials have seen. And that does look to be a fair goal to give. So GB trail 2-0 here on home soil. But remember, Lithuania will be very aware that they raced out the traps fast against South Korea, only to lose. And GB will bear that in mind as well. So maybe not quite panic stations yet, as Pajarauskas has a go, and it's off the post of the inside of it. And has gone in, and it's 3-0. Number 3, Pajarauskas with it. Came off Loftus. Dan Roper just could not move in quick enough time. And Great Britain are 3-0 down. As Faye Dale is already seeking a change on the court, and a change is going to be made as Matt Loftus goes off. And Joe Roper will go on. So both the Ropers are on. Not quite yet, Joe Roper is on because he's having just his checks done by the official Fariba Mohammadi. So it's just going to be like the game 48 hours or so ago, where they were 3-0 down to Egypt and had to win 7-5 in the opening game. Lithuania are a better outfit than Egypt, so it's going to be made difficult. As Pavliukianet goes close for Lithuania with his effort going wide. On the near side, Nanavi now going for it. Kept out well though by Justas Pajarauskas. He's already scored already. Awkward one to deal with. Missed by Joe Roper, but Nanavi got there. Of course, Joe Roper now playing as the centre in place of Loftus. He's got this sort of Union Jack sort of underarm on his forearm. Sort of to add a bit of extra protection to make sure he doesn't get any marks. He's quick off the block after making it. And he's just going to pass it to Nanavi. Slows down. Nanavi turning and shooting. Goes off the face of Pajarauskas, and there was a few bits of encouragement from the spectators. Pajarauskas goes again. Saved off the top of the chest by Joe Roper. There's Great Britain trail 3-0 here on what is game number 5 of the day here in the Goalball on court 1. Greece-Australia women follows us after this. Right now, Greece are taking on Turkey in the other men's action on court 2. There's the opportunity for Dan Roper, but kept out well by Genrik Pavliukianets. You can just see with Lithuania, they are really strong at generating and getting a lot of force behind their attempts, which seemingly is a bit of a real big difference into this game at the moment. Attempting to get the fourth is Przeżarauskas, and that is the case. Unfortunately helped in by Joe Roper. Nanavi behind the line, couldn't stop it. And it is 4-0 to Lithuania. As the timeout is called, and it's real big 45-second timeout here for Faye Dale and co. 4-0 down, and seemingly are really struggling to combat the power that Lithuania are getting on their shots. It's just almost, it looked like, I'm not a lip reader, but what Faye Dale was saying was just trying to bring the don'ts in rather than the do's for Lithuania in their attempt to stop them. As he was a little bit caught out there was Dan Roper. Spine wasn't in the right position, so threw it off the court. Wasn't going to get penalised for the 10-second rule, so did just throw it off the court. So happily we'll give it in Lithuania's path as the dead ball is theirs. Going forward it is Przeżarauskas. Now with Dan Roper. This time it's a better effort. This time it's towards goal. And it did go into the net, but was a high one. So it will be a Lithuania penalty, which Genrik Pavliukianets is going to take for the side who are threatening to run away with this. Going right to the first rectangle is Dan Roper. And they have called out a very clever timeout of Lithuania. As it is Great Britain 0, Lithuania 4. Very much as soon as this timeout is over, Lithuania could be 5-0 up. With Pavliukianets. The ball under his arm. They are a side who actually have their numbers on the front as well as the back. But the back, of course, a lot bigger than the numbers on the front of the shirt. Quiet descends. We will get back underway on the whistle. Trying to get the dummy run in. Pavliukianets has scored. Make that 5-0 now, Lithuania. That's what the timeout was for. The little fake run from Przeżarauskas may have just slightly got Dan Roper put off, as Genrik Pavliukianets has scored for Lithuania, and they are now 5-0 up. And they're nearly 6-0 up if it wasn't for Joe Roper getting in the way of the shot. But we've seen Great Britain come back from a deficit. We've also seen in the first 2 days of this competition Lithuania lose a deficit, but not by this amount. Both sides have, in their respective terms, got what has happened in their games. Great Britain's case got what they wanted. Lithuania not got what they wanted. Kept out well by Pavliukianets, who will now pass it to Justas Przeżarauskas, who both as a trio, both as a double act, have got quite the shot on them that they possess. The attempt is in from the Lithuania attack. Now with Dan Roper. It was low, and already diving even before the ball arrived to him was Justas Prajarauskas, looking to make it 6-0. Well, caught and well held by Joe Roper. Now to Dan Roper. Saved on the line by the feet of Justas Prajarauskas. Now Pavliukianets will go for it. Always gets that ball right up above his head. It's saved by the feet of Caleb Nanavi. You can hear the official shout, "Quiet, please." That has got to be for the crowd and for the staff. It's just so it's easy for the players to understand what's going on. It's got off Nanavi, and how unfortunate. It's got off his thigh, then got off the top of his head and in. And it's now 6-0 Lithuania. Well, there are some pretty moody faces on that England bench. No doubt the crowd are probably thinking, how do we give encouragement when the result is so far against us? It's unbelievable. Pavliukianets going again. Hits into the chest of Dan Roper, who then does likewise into Genrik Pavliukianets. Well, they're certainly looking like they're an angry side, Lithuania, because of that loss they got to South Korea yesterday. Maybe it's just a case of Great Britain catching Lithuania on a very good day. Nanavi intercepting it and now giving it to Dan Roper, who does that spin, that twirl, which is central, and Lithuania keep out, who will now make a change. They made it very late in the game yesterday against South Korea, but they're going to do it now with Genrik Pavliukianets to go off. And Nereus Montvidas is the player he will replace. Certainly, in terms of what I've seen of this tournament so far, Lithuania's number 7 is one of the stronger players in this men's field, as Montvidas takes his place on the far side in his own side's court. Attempt by Prajarauskas, who now takes the spot up where, of course, Pavliukianets was. Montvidas will now go for it. He'll go low. Tips aside to the right by Joe Roper. That's better. Certainly decrease in power for the Lithuanian attackers. Certainly come to the fore. Montvidas is on now. He goes for it, trying to get the bounce. Kept out of there by Joe Roper. You can certainly hear the crowd really trying to get the shouts into the GB players. And under 5 minutes to go. Montvidas with the attempt. Well held by Dan Roper. The whistle had sounded as they had the attempt, so it's another change for Great Britain. Nanavi is to go off. So David Scott comes on. Getting his checkups from Fariba Mohammedi. There was a real big cheer when the announcer announced the name of David Scott. So GB need some salvation. And what is a real desperate rescue mission now. Montvidas will go forward for Lithuania. Did come off the right arm of Joe Roper, but blocking it was Dan Roper. There's another timeout has been called by Great Britain. Great Britain trail, member 6-0. As you can hear, Tuva, the chant, which of course is the name of Lithuania in its language. So they're certainly trying to out-sing and be more heard than the Great Britain crowd. The court gets a bit of a wipe as well. As tough first halves go, this is right up there for Great Britain. As now Scott will have the attempt for Great Britain, but it's denied well by Montvidas. Brzezowskis giving it to him, and he's just had a gentle roll across the floor along the line. David Scott there to deny him as he now has a go himself. On the stretch to his right is Brzezowskis to keep out. Now Brzezowskis, as his efforts stopped by the midriff of Joe Roper, who won't flick it in behind him with a big wicked deflection. So they've stopped the goals against them at the moment of Great Britain, but they haven't got the goals for at the moment on Lithuania. Remember, the next game is at 3:45. The last women's game on court 1, Greece against Australia. By the way, right now, Greece-Turkey is a bit of action going on in the men's in court 2. But here, Lithuania are in fine fettle, looking good, looking fine as they lead 6-0 against Great Britain. As the attempt from Dan Roper is counteracted by Lithuania. They will get a penalty as there was an infringement spotted by the officials. So a chance to go 7-0. And Nereus Montvidas has the chance to put them into the position of a 7-0 lead, and does so. Right down the middle and in. Of course, remember the mercy rule could apply here. If it gets to 10, that's when the game's cut short, which would be pretty hard for Great Britain and its supporters to swallow. 3 more and that becomes the case. Speaking of 3, that's how much we've got left of this half. It's Klaidas Janaika, the Lithuania coach. I think won't be worried that there'll be a absolute miraculous comeback on the cards for Great Britain. Maybe he could use the idea of toying in his head about making some substitutions and resting players like Justas Brzezowskis and so forth. Sprinting to give it to David Scottish Joe Roper. Scott will have a go. He'll go low and it's tipped on in by Montvidas. So Great Britain are on the board. The substitute David Scott with a very good effort. Nice spin. Nice roll along the floor. Montvidas was at 6s and 7s with that, as it is now 7-1. So, Great Britain have got themselves a goal in this contest on home soil. Remember, they were beaten yesterday by Germany 7-4. Did beat Egypt 5-3 in the... Oh, sorry, did beat Egypt, I beg your pardon, in the first game that they would play in the men's. There will be an action tomorrow. Will GB men. Brzezowskis with another effort. David Scott turning into it and reacting. Took his time, waited for the sound of the bounce to help him decide where the ball was and make the save. As that saved, it did look a little bit worrying for him that he might have been having a helping hand in that going in. As there is the opportunity, make that 8-1 now, Lithuania. Dan Roper helping it in. It was Nerijus Montvidas who nearly conceded a second for his country, then scores to make it 8-1. Well, the motion sort of changed. He was cheering to nearly just beforehand, probably feeling low because he made that error. But it is Great Britain 1, Lithuania 8. Lithuania back on court 1 tomorrow against Japan. Whilst GB will take on Japan as well. As well as the women, they take on China at 11:15 tomorrow. So Lithuania penalty, this for a chance to go 9-1 in front. With Justas Pražarauskas, which he will not do. No dummy run, no feigning of the run. Cheers from the England crowd, from the Great Britain crowd as Dan Roper stops him, so it doesn't get worse. David Scott will have a go. The effort is off target. Well, not the result on home soil that anybody had in mind. The dummy run by Pražarauskas did send Dan Roper just a little bit to one side, the wrong side, so he got fooled a little bit, but the effort from the Lithuania attackers was nothing short of below par as GB win it with Joe Roper to David Scott. Diving in front of it, Mantas Brzezowskis. So Nerijus Montvidas came on for Pavliukianets, is lining this up. Good clearance by David Scott to stop that being 9-1. Scott will go for it towards the very end line. Blocked well by Mantas Brzezowskis. And then the chance for Montvidas is one that Lithuania won't take and that GB will keep out. Now Justas Pražarauskas will have a go. Always likes to have a high bounce on his shots, doesn't he? I think there was an arm up in the air from Dan Roper that might have been appealing for that. Lithuania sharp defending at the moment. There's the chance for the court to have a bit of a wipe. Of course, they've just got to make it a smooth surface, so it's easy for the players to move around on. But right now, Greece-Turkey is at 2:30 game that got underway on court 2 here at the CBS Arena. Known as the Coventry Building Society Arena, but it's probably better to call it the CBS Arena. Less problem saying it if it's just abbreviated. Formerly known as the Ricoh Arena, home to Coventry City, formerly home to Wasps. Any rugby union fans watching that will certainly know what I'm talking about. And football fans will know that about Coventry City, who, even though they are in their own city, have not played there for a few years until the last, 3 seasons now they've gone back there. Chance for Joe Roper to try and make it 8-2. Not the case, as they did just go off the court first. Quiet please shout the officials. 34 seconds remain. Pražarauskas trying to send it from the far right to the near side. Going for the cross-court effort, but for him it was a bit of a underhanded effort. Not enough on it from him, to be fair, which is rare to say. Montvidas will have an attempt. Scott holds on to it. He will have a go himself, and it's well denied by Justas Pražarauskas. It will be a penalty for Lithuania. Nerijus Montvidas again will have it. Missed the last one. David Scott's got to deal with it, and he was not aware of where Montvidas was because he was focused on Pražarauskas, who takes a lot of pleasure in that little fake run to throw sort of Scott off the scent. And it's worked for Lithuania because they are now 9-1 in front. As this will be the last chance of the half for Great Britain. Denied is Dan Roper. All the ball though. 1 second left. So this is simply going to be a shot, nothing else. So whistle will blow, Roper will hit it. Denied by Brzezowski as well. I think from the Great Britain point of view, let's not talk about that half, but Lithuania fans watching, yeah, we will. They're 9-1 in front. Great control of the lead. They've been very good with their shooting. It's proved very difficult at times for Great Britain. As at the break here on home soil, Great Britain men trail to Lithuania by 9-1. As we are about to have a 3-minute interval, we'll be back very, very shortly for the second half.
IBSA, International Blind Sports Federation, presents, with the support of the International Paralympic Committee, IBSA Anti-Doping App, the first application of its kind in the Paralympic movement, specifically designed for blind and visually impaired people. Athletes, coaches, medical staff, managers, and the public in general now have a powerful tool to stay focused on the principles of clean sport. Scrolling down the main menu, you can find all the important themes you need to know to play fair and be alert to testing procedures and necessary adaptations for athletes with visual impairments. IBSA gives top priority to anti-doping control, being the only international federation with 3 sports in the Paralympic family: goalball, football, and judo. IBSA anti-doping app has external links, namely to WADA, where our sport agents can always find the most updated information, especially the list of prohibited substances and methods. Glory in sport can only be achieved by the athlete's awareness of their rights and responsibilities. You can find them on the IBSA anti-doping app. IBSA is continuously promoting anti-doping education to all its affiliate athletes and sport agents, not only about the consequences of the use of doping and the risk of using supplements. IBSA believes that education is the major tool to fight doping in sport. Informed athletes can make better decisions. Download the app now at the usual operating system stores.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have seen history being made today.
Such a great team at these championships.
IBSA. Beyond sight. Feel the sport.
Welcome back. As you see on the scoreboard, yes, you're not reading that wrong. No, there's no malfunction. Lithuania 9, GB 1 here in the third men's game of the day. I was saying about how there's not been many goals in the sort of last 3 matches, both men and the women's. Mixed bag in that front. Only 8 between USA and Australia, 6 between Israel and China, 4 between Japan and Great Britain. Now we've got 10 here. 9 of them have come from Lithuania. As Fariba Mohammadi is one of the officials. She's laying down just the rules and who's starting us off. It will be Great Britain who will start us off right to left. Blue shirts that they're wearing, of course. Very much like the women's jersey with a lot of white on it and red in the top of the shirt as well. And of course Lithuania in a sort of greyish silver sort of type shirt, really dark kind of colour as well. So there's no change at the break for GB. So they have Scott and then they have the ropers of Joe in the centre and Dan on the right. For Lithuania they have got Nerijus Montvidas. There's the right, they have Mantas Brzezowskis, and then they have Genrik Pavliukianets as a replacement for Justas Przejauskas. As Montvidas is going close, Scott holds on. Right now, court 2, Greece, Turkey is underway on that one, but you're focusing on GB, home field. Not quite getting the vibes. It's a brilliant tip over the crossbar by Joe Roper to get down low and push that up. That is a tremendous stop. GB throw, which is well saved by Lithuania as Montvidas gets up and has a go. Attempting a strike for England is Joe Roper. Pavliukianets is going to beat David Scott, but Scott is able to shut him out. More power on the shot from England's centre Joe Roper there, but Mantas Brzezowskis there to stop him. There's the Lithuania coach, Klaidas Inaika, is giving instructions. Of course, it was stationary and there's a stoppage in place. He's allowed to give instructions. With the game stopping, noise could be created. Quiet now though as the referee's whistle blows. That is Montvidas with the attempt as he goes from the near side to the far side with that throw along the floor. Kept out though well by Dan Roper, as Montvidas then keeps out Dan Roper's attempt, using his left side to get it out up high, and there's number 10. It's Genrik Pavliukianets again. It was low. He moved over to that far side, right on the very line. It was low. It was driven brilliantly through the gap. And even if that had 6 players on there, I think they are not even stopping that attempt from Genrik Pavliukianets. He's now having a go is Montvidas. Tapped well by Dan Roper. Yes, he will have another go, this time from the far side, looking into the middle. There to block it is Mantas Brzezowskis. Montvidas having a go, and it's wide. Along the floor, perfect height. Diving was Dan Roper, but it was one that went past him. Pavliukianets going for it again. This time Scott turns in, reads where that ball is going, heard it as well. Of course it has got 3 goals inside it as well as hearing the bounce, and Scott has scored. So he's got the 2 goals for Great Britain. They're a long way from a comeback, but they've got themselves a second. It is now 10-2 to Lithuania. As Montvidas has the attempt, well blocked, more defended by Great Britain. Having a go is Joe Roper. Pavliukianets having a go. And then diving was Joe Roper again, but has gone past the goal, away to his right and on the far side. And coming up towards the 4th minute mark of this second half as David Scott nearly gets himself a hat-trick. You just heard the crowd shout, good shooting, Davey. Has been very good so far. Very unlucky with that effort as it was nearly 10-3. Lithuania don't want to try to do is just drop off. They want to try and add more as they can. Seems as though they can read everybody else, but it's proven a bit more difficult to understand how Genrik Pavliukianets is finding a way through. He has a go there. David Scott sees it come off his side, quickly scramble back and be behind the ball at one stage, but then be in front of it as he's able to get it under control. Montvidas having a go. Well blocked by Joe Roper, who as soon as he makes a stop, sprints up and just presents the ball in front of either David Scott or Dan Roper. Remember, next up on court one, Greece against Australia, final women's game of the day. It's at 3:45. Whistle going, David Scott with the throw. Not the most powerful of efforts that he's had today, but did just see the ball hit the chest of Genrik Pavliukianets on the far side. Scott going again. This time goes in the centre. Brzezowskis keeping it aside. They just seem to be a bit more knowing Lithuania, a little bit of where the ball is, maybe compared to sort of the Great Britain shots. There is a stoppage because the ball needs to be dried. Almost a real big thing, actually. Maybe something that outsiders may not notice is that, of course, the ball has to be dry, and if it is got a bit of moisture or fluid on it, it can be difficult for players to stop or hold on to. In a note to the official, Patrick Larsson, who heard what one of the side officials had to say and listened to him. Well, Lithuania, remember yesterday, we're on the wrong end of a comeback against South Korea. Doesn't look like it's going to happen now. They were fooled a little bit with Scott and with Joe Roper, but Dan Roper didn't flinch, didn't move. As the attempt comes in from Pavliukianets and came off the back of Brzezowskis, and moving was Nereus Montvidas, but he did just have to shift over. Keep a hold of it. Scott has a go. Turning into it is Montvidas. Legs together. Kicking out and keeping it out. Pavliukianets has the bounce. Scott reads that one well. He's been good since he came on as David Scott. As he gets the shot away, and it's tipped aside by Nereus Montvidas. A few of the crowd thought that was in. The ball is dropped at the feet of Montvidas, who's obviously picked it up. Of course, you can't use your feet to score in goalball. You have to use your hands and generate the power from your arms to throw. So it looks like there is going to be another substitution here for Lithuania. Of course, the sort of board or sort of thing they hold to show the substitution who's on and who's off is in the right hand of Klaidas Janaika. Montvidas having a go. Diving for it was the centre for England, Joe Roper. He missed it, but it was landing into the feet of Dan Roper. That's a go. It's just gone wide again. On that right side of Montvidas on the near side. He will come in field somewhat. He will look to go to the far corner. Kept out well, though, by Dan Roper. David Scott will have a go. Will go low in the centre, but kept out by Mantas Brzezowskis. So now Lithuania will make a change. So Nereus Montvidas is to go off. Justas Brzezowskis will come back on. He didn't start the second half, but he did start the game. As he is now on the bench, by the way, for Lithuania. Arturas Jonikaitis and Juozas Eigminas, as well as, of course, Nerijus Montvidas, who's just gone off as well. So it is the same lineup that started as Pavliukanets is lining one up. Oh, it's a brilliant finish. Stop that if you can. Right through the heart of the Great Britain defence. Over on their sort of centre right of the court, beyond Joe Roper and David Scott. And Lithuania have got 11 to Great Britain's 2. And I think him alone, Genrik Pavliukanets, is going to carry his nation a long way in this tournament. Because now here's Scott. He will have a go. He will go low through the middle. Not quite the same success, but nearly did, as Justas Przeżarauskas understood what was going on. As the England players off the pitch are Matt Loftus, Josh Murphy and Caleb Nanavi. David Scott and the Ropers of Dan and Joe on the pitch. Lithuania have Justas Przeżarauskas on, Genrik Pavliukanets and Mantas Brzezowskis on. They by 11 goals to 2. Greece and Turkey is going on the other court. And what is, of course, there the penultimate men's game. The final one on court 1 will be Argentina-Iran. That's to come at 5 o'clock. And the final one out of the women's is next on court 1, Greece against Australia. Whereas on court 2, there's still to come there Germany, Brazil, and Ukraine against Canada. So over 5 minutes to play here. Lithuania 11, Great Britain 2. Certainly have been absolutely exceptional of Lithuania today. And again, Pavliukanets trying to go through the gap between Joe Roper and David Scott, but it's straight at Joe Roper, who turned into it, made a strong stop out of it. There's Justas Przeżarauskas, who I was impressed with against South Korea, is also trying to get a name for himself in this game, but he has been outshone by Genrik Pavliukanets. As we have just under 5 minutes left to play. It did go in, but it has gone for a Great Britain penalty. High ball has been spotted by the officials, so Justas Przeżarauskas just feeling where he is, has to defend David Scott's throw. It's a straight one, wrong-footed. David Scott has his third, Great Britain's third, it's 11-3. His technique on show again. No fake run, no feign, no dummy run. Just a straightforward 1v1, and just David Scott getting the better of Justas Przeżarauskas, as Pavliukanets has thrown that with almighty force. But it's blocked by Joe Roper. Scott's effort this time into the Lithuania half is blocked as well. Przeżarauskas going again and in. 12-3 Lithuania. Justas Przeżarauskas with the goal. Well, Lithuania really want to get as many as they can get. Really killing Great Britain men with the goal difference. Pavliukanets looking for another one. It's well stopped by David Scott. Big stop that as well. He was in a very good starting position, to be fair. It was David Scott, and didn't really have to move a great deal for Pavliukanets' throw, which he was aiming the goal for. So 3 minutes 55 left. Borna's going to get another clean on that towel over on the sort of far side near the England staff, a good few yards away. Where's that going on? The long-handled brushes are out to wipe the floor in the Lithuanian half. There you go, Scott with the attempt. Brzezowskis knew what was going on. Well to save, opportunity for Pavliukanets. This time went towards the right side of the England goal, as you can see, over on that far end of the court. It's stopped by Dan Roper. As Lithuania are going to make a substitution. Genrik Pavliukanets is going to be replaced here.
Substitution for Lithuania coming off number 7, Genrik Pavliukanets, was replaced by number 9, Juozas Igmanas.
Rosas Igmanas is going to get some minutes in this contest. 3 minutes 33 he will have, as we've nearly played 9 minutes of this second half. Well, just sort of getting himself geared up is Juozas Igmanas. And there is number 13, is it? It is. They did celebrate at first because they weren't sure if that would stand, but it has. Helped in by Dan Roper. And Lithuania are 13-3 up against Great Britain. As shouts of Lietuva come out. As game has come to an end. 10-goal difference, remember, the mercy rule. So Lithuania have won by 13 goals to 3. As the contest has stopped at 3 minutes 29. And Juozas Igmanas has only been on the pitch for about 4 seconds. So the game won't finish the whole duration of 24 minutes because Great Britain have suffered an almighty battering from Lithuania as they've won by 13 goals to 3. And because of the mercy rule, where if there's a 10-goal swing to stop the game, it has happened here. Full time. Great Britain men really have been given a lesson on the goalball court today. It's finished Lithuania 13, Great Britain 3.